This is 3.6 part 3, and we're going to continue factoring our trinomials where a is not equal to 1. Just a few more to get practice, and then throwing a few more in here that have extra steps that you need to be aware of. So in these last two questions, I'm going to throw at you the fact that, technically speaking, from now on, every question that I give you that just says factor this trinomial, you need to first of all check for a GCF. So I'm going to start right off the bat by breaking this into its primes. 2 times 2 times x minus 2 times 3x. And 40 is 2 times 20, which is 2 times 2 times 5. Is there a GCF there? Well, there is. There is a 2 that I can take out of all of them. So I need to do that first. What am I left with? I'm left with 2x squared minus 3x minus 2 times, so 20. So after you've checked for GCF, you need to take a look at the inside part and decide if you can factor that. And you're going to have to make choices. Is it the a equals 1 steps or the new stuff from today where a doesn't equal 1? Well, obviously a is not equal to 1, so we're going to have to use our new steps, which again are called decomposition. So this 2 for now is going to be ignored. It's going to hang out front, but we're not going to actually do anything with it. So a equals, b equals, and c equals. This 2 outside is not part of this at all. What's a? This 2. What's b? Minus 3. What's c? Minus 20. So I want to find two numbers that multiply to give me 2 times negative 20, which is minus 40, and that add to give me minus 3. So again, I'm going to make a list of some numbers that multiply to give me 40. 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 3 times 8, or pardon me, 5 times 8. And right away I notice here that if one of these were negative, they would subtract to be 3. So this is what I'm going to start with then. I have an 8 and a 5 and an 8 and a 5. And I know that when these two are combined, I want them to combine to be negative 3, which means that he needs to be negative and this one needs to be positive. This one's negative, this one's positive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up here and I'm actually going to put everything after that 2 in square brackets. And that's just going to keep everything separate so you don't get confused. So I'm going to write down this 2 that I have here. And inside in square brackets now, I'm going to keep the first term the same, leave a space, write the last term the same. And the middle term gets replaced with minus 8 and plus 5x. So minus 8x plus 5x. Now within here, squiggly underline, and I'm going to break this up into its factors. This is 2 times x minus 2 times 2 times 2x. That's the first one. Then plus 5x minus 20 is going to be 2 times 10, which is 2 times 2 times 5. Now, let's put these inside the square brackets that I had with the 2 out front. The 2 out front again. What do these two have in common? Well, they both have a 2 and they both have an x. So let's write down the 2x, and in round brackets now, I have an x left, I have a minus sign left, and I have a 2 times 2, which is 4 left. Then I have this plus sign. What do these two have in common? They both have a 5. So I put that down. What's left after I've crossed out the 5? In round brackets, I have an x, a minus sign, and 2 times 2 is 4. Round brackets followed by the square brackets. And you can tell at this point that you've done it correctly because, again, you have identical things in round brackets. So what do we have now? We have 2 square bracket. What can I take out of this term and this term? Well, they both have an x plus 4. What's left when I have the x plus 4 down? In round brackets again, I have a 2x left and a plus 5 left. And it looks like that. This is a little bit cumbersome. And what you're going to do now then to make it a little less complicated is you're going to remove the square brackets because they're no longer necessary. The 2 is there, the x plus 4 in round brackets is there, and the 2x plus 5 in round brackets is there. This question here, I'm just going to leave for a moment because it's going to follow the same steps as that. There's going to be a GCF out front, and what's inside is going to have to be factored using the steps for a not equal to 1. So let's turn the page and do a few more on the other page. All right, so factor using the proper steps and expand to check. Expand to check means to use a distributive property to multiply it out afterwards. So let's do this one here. First of all, let's check for GCF. You're going to have to do that for every question from now on. So 6 is 2 times 3 times x plus 7 times x minus 5. So we have 3 terms. Is there a GCF? Nope. So move on to doing A, B, and C. A is 6, B is 7, and C is negative 5. We want 2 numbers that multiply to give us A times C, which is negative 30, and those same 2 numbers that add to give us 7. And what I'm going to find is that the numbers are going to be 10 and 3, and since I want them to multiply to be negative, one of them has to be negative, and I want them to combine to be a positive 7, I'm going to make him positive and him negative, and that's going to work. Next step, write the first one down, 6x squared. Leave a space, write the last one down, minus 5. And then here, replace the plus 7x with plus 10x minus 3x. Squiggly underline next, here and here. Break this down into our factors. 3 times 2 times x plus 2 times 5x. That's the first set. And then the minus 3x is done, minus 5 is done. What can I take out of the first squiggly underline question? I can take out a 2, and I can take out an x. So I write that down. What am I left with? I'm left with a 3x plus a 5. Now what's next here? I don't see anything in common. So what I do is I actually technically add the fact that both of these could be multiplied by 1 at the end. And that would still be legal. So what I'm going to take out is this minus sign and this 1. So the 1's are now gone. Remember, when your GCF is a minus sign, what you're going to write in the brackets afterward switches signs. So this used to be a minus 3x, now it's going to be a positive 3x. This used to be a minus 5, now it's going to be a positive 5. What do we have left between this guy and this guy? Well, they both have a 3x plus 5, so we write that down in brackets, followed by what's left, which is a 2x and then a minus 1. Now for this question here, you're asked to expand to check. So I'm not going to do this question up here in the interest of time and space, but I am going to show you how we would expand to check this. 3x plus 5, bracket 2x minus 1. You're going to take and you're going to multiply the 3x by the 2x. 3 times 2 is 6, x times x is x squared. Then you take the 3x and you multiply it by the negative 1, which is negative 3x. Then you take the 5 and you multiply by the 2x and you get plus 10x. Then you take the 5 and multiply by the negative 1 and you get negative 5. And then your job is to combine like terms, and you're going to get 6x squared plus 7x minus 5. And if you look, that was your original question, so you did it correctly. Let's do one more quickly if we can. Question C. This is written as 3 times t minus 13 times t minus 2 times 5. Is there a GCF? No, there's not. So the next step is A is 3, B is negative 13, and C is negative 10. I want two numbers that multiply to give me A times C, which is negative 30 again, like last time, but also add to be a negative 13. Interestingly enough, I have the same numbers, 10 and 3, and 10 and 3. Nope, that's not going to work here either. And sometimes you're going to find that, because they wouldn't have multiplied to be negative 30 and a negative 13. How about 15 and 2? Negative 15, positive 2, negative 15, positive 2. We're going to rewrite the first term down, which is 3t squared, leave a blank, write the last term. Replace the middle number, which is minus 13t, with our two numbers that we found, minus 15t minus plus 2t. Squiggly underline, and break this down. 3 times t minus 3 times 5t, and then plus 2t minus 2 times 5. What does the first set have in common? They both have a 3 and a t. So 3t, what's left? A t minus 5. Then a plus, what's in common? Just a 2 and a t minus 5. What is our answer? Well, what do those both have in common? They have a t minus 5 followed by a 3t plus 2. And your last step is to expand to check. So you're going to have t minus 5, 3t plus 2. Let's multiply the t by the 3t. You're going to get 3t squared. The t times the 2 is plus 2t. The minus 5 times the 3t, which is minus 15t, and the minus 5 times the 2, which is minus 10. Combine like terms, 3t squared minus 13t minus 10. That's what you get when you expand. That was your original question, and so it worked out. Your assignment's on the bottom of this page. Just as a note though, if you can't factor a question, if for example you couldn't find any numbers here, that question is called prime, meaning it can't be factored any further, and you can expect to find that happening sometimes.